Guys, I want to talk about Vi. What should happen to Vi? I think it's a question on all of our minds, right? Because the worst thing would be this guy gets nerfed into such oblivion, it doesn't matter. But this is where we're at right now. The Vi's an 8 for 12. And you shuffle back in your deck, increased by base power by 3. This used to be what Siri Dash was way back in the day. And you can already tell that this card naturally has a problem with it. If it plays and then gets consumed, you can't interact with it. The engine is hidden in the deck, and there's not many factions that interact with the deck. Really, the only one is Nilfgaard. That's kind of unacceptable to an extent. A big part of any good game is making sure you can interact with it. So, CG Projekt Red has to do something to Vi. It's toxic gameplay. It's Gwent at its worst. The first option they have is please stop running this with Haunt and 8 tutors. It's just technically 7+1 because Ornamency counts twice. This is just, I nerf the basically the provisions, and I nerf the points. I just nerf every spot. You could potentially even nerf the base power, but you just tune it until it's weak. Top tier or second tier deck, probably second tier. It's not a fun deck to play or play against. Some people like this gameplay, and if you want to play solitaire, you want to play Vi or Lippy, that's on you. But you would nerf it until it's not a top performer because it's not interesting to watch. It's not interesting to play. It's not interesting to play against. Next choice, get Detlaft. You could, or Detloft, you could give it charges. So I left it how it is, and then you think about how it is. So it's an 8 for 12, which is a bad deal, right? You can do 12 for 12 with the old Spear Tip. Then it would become an 11 for 12, getting a little better, but you get 2 uses of it. You get 2 uses of it. That's not too bad, right? That kind of trades up a little bit on provision. And then the third use would get you 14 for 12. I feel that it should be worse than Detlaft. So the reason it should be worse than Detlaft, you have to dump all those points in one round. The most common combo is that and 2 charges, or Detlaft plus 2 charges of Overwhelming Hunger, getting 19 points, but you have to commit 2 charges of Overwhelming Hunger and have to do it all in one round. I feel that Vi should end up weaker than Detlaft. Now, with that said, I don't think it's quite the solution I'm looking for. By the way, you could always give it the classic nerf. I don't know if anyone's familiar with how often this change occurs. But you could give it a 2 for 10, discard a draw a card, discard a card, discard unit, boost self by power. You could do it. You could bring out the classic nerf. You could bring out the we don't know what we're doing with this card. Please, we're just doing it like this. But I would like to give a proposal. This is what I think should happen to Vi. Shuffle Death Wish always goes back into the deck. At the end of your turn, increase base power by 2. You could tweak the numbers, points, revisions, but here's why I think this is a better card. 1, having a card that is an engine into of itself is something Monsters does. The Beast. You also have Wild Hunt Hounds, right? It is a faction that is okay to have +1 cards at +1 by themselves every turn. 2, this is a really interesting paradox. You want to have him out for multiple rounds. He starts off as a 5/10, but on the same time, you can't just pass while you have him on the board or he's gone. You have to eat. You have to preemptively eat him, shutting off one of your engines before you pass if you want to carry him the next round. That's an interesting choice. 3, by starting at a 3, if you're going to modify something here, I'd modify the provision, not the point value, because you want to have him start off as 5, going to your opponent. That way, decks like Scoia'tael can Nature's Rebuke it. You can Stunning Blow it, or potentially Bloodthirsty Gutting Slash it for Skellige. You can, I think, what is it called? Payday for Syndicate. You can do the 5-point removal spells. Nilfgaard will get hurt because theirs makes a copy of it, but that's okay. It's okay for a faction to struggle against a certain card more than others. And this is where I hope Vi goes. A card that increases base power shuffles back in, but you have to make really conscious and interesting decisions. Likewise, if your opponent immediately hits a Nature's Rebuke, that's really, it's a setback for you. You committed 10 provision. That would it's another 5-point card in your deck. That's not really good. But you can also pop up, right? You might commit a Cave Troll to protect Vi, let him run up, and all of a sudden he's a 14-point card. You consume him back in your deck, and you pulled it off. And that's okay. It is okay to have a card that's well behind Defender. See Colgrim, for example, or Kostri. Vi, I think, should go in this direction, but I can tell you right now that the original sin is a sin. This should not exist because there's no way to interact with a really high point engine. I hope they go like this. I hope they don't get Detlaft. I hope they just something increasing his base power has to be out on the field, and then ideally when it dies, not in the round, but when something eats it, pops it back into the deck. That is that is my vibe presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.